What's going on, guys? Trucker Jay coming back at you. Finished the first week of CDL training. School here that I picked was Tennessee Truck Driving School. I just want to give you guys a little bit of a breakdown, what to expect, what to bring, and basically my experiences and my point of view so far. They are located in Knoxville, Tennessee. It is a 3-week course. There's a couple different payment options you guys can do. You could pay the full price. Their school tuition is $4,000 if you pay for it in advance or all up front. If you do choose to do the financing option, there's an extra $1,000. You're looking at about $5,000 if you do choose to come here. Now keep in mind, most of the companies out there do offer tuition reimbursement. So most of all of this could be taken care of and paid for by the company that you choose to go to. A couple of companies that I know that they work with, let's see, I know they deal with Stevens Transport, Convenient Transport, US Express, and Total Transportation, just to name a few there. They do offer the VA MGI bill if you are a veteran, including the post 9/11, so you could go those routes to help you pay for the course. It is a 3-week course. The times for the time period that I'm going to school is a little bit different. This is November 2018. We do have Thanksgiving coming up later on this month, so they had to change it around a little bit to fit into that. You have to have so many hours of training to be completed to finish. So they did have to mess around our times a little bit to make sure that we fit that criteria. So your first day that you get here, they're going to do all of your pre-registration paperwork. Most of the time you're already going to call the school if you choose to come here. They're going to go through a list of things, make sure that you're qualified, make sure that you bring certain things with you to come to the school. But when you actually do the paperwork, that's what they're going to do the first day that you're here. I came on Monday. I know that most of the rest of the class actually had come before they went to school. So all the pre-checklist enrollment paperwork has already been done for them. I believe I was the only one that came from out of state, go Longhorns, Texas, who came from out of state to come to this school. Everybody else pretty much lived here in Tennessee, so they were already able to do this. But for me, like I said, I showed up on Monday. They went through all the paperwork, make sure that I brought everything, my driver's license, social security card, birth certificate, my 2 proofs of domicile, my residency, any kind of school documentation that you need. Definitely need to bring that stuff. There's a whole list of things that you can bring that verifies your domicile if you are going to be coming to this school from Tennessee. Tennessee has its own requirements. Now, if you are coming from a different state, it may be a little bit different, but they're pretty much all going to be the same. So the first day of class was on Monday. This is a 3-week course. The schedule originally was Monday is from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Tuesday through Thursday, it was set for 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then on Friday, the schedule was 7 a.m. to 4:30. Now, with us having the holidays coming up, they had to change the schedule up a little bit. We were doing 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Thursday. Friday we started at 6 a.m. and then we went to about 5:30. Now, as of right now, they're going to let us go Wednesday, about half of the day. We're going to be gone Thursday, which is Thanksgiving, and then we come back Friday at about 12. So they had to change our schedule, make sure that we had all of our hours. Normally, the schedule they have is first day, Monday, is from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Tuesday through Thursday is 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then on Friday, that's the day that most people will take their permit test. It's from 7 a.m. to 4:30. Now, I will recommend that if you have the option and the ability to get your permit before you come here. They cram the whole entire DMV manual basically through the whole first week, all into 1 week. Now, you have Monday through Thursday basically to absorb all the information, and then you take your test on Friday. Now, if you don't pass the test, by the law here in the state, you have to wait 7 days before you can test it again. So with that being said, if you don't pass the test on Friday, you get to go through the whole entire first week over again. So if you've got the ability to go through, get your CDL permit before you come to class, it'll save you a lot of time. It'll lower the amount of stress you have. You basically aren't going to have to worry about too much the first week. Now, there was 20 people in my class. Everybody passed but one. So that individual, unfortunately, will have to repeat the first week. So again, if you have the ability to take your CDL permit test before you come here, the first week will be a lot less stressful. Matter of fact, I was already going outside doing week 2 stuff, going through the pre-trip inspection, and kind of getting more hands-on and a little bit of a head start for week 2 while everybody else is stuck in the classroom going over CDL permit stuff. So the first week is basically you're in the classroom. They go over the CDL permit stuff. You take your test on Friday. Now they have a couple of ladies come from DMV to come here to the school, and it's a paper test. So basically, everybody tests here in the building. They don't have to load everybody up, go to the DMV. But after you take the test, once you pass it, you do physically have to go to the DMV and get your paper copy CDL permit. Now, another thing, they're in the process of getting transportation in a bus to transport people back and forth. But like I said, everybody but I think myself and one other person came from out of state. I'm sorry, myself and one other person came from out of state. Everybody else was here. So a lot of other people brought their own vehicles, so they were able to drive around, get that taken care of. If you come here from out of state, you don't have a vehicle, they're pretty good with working with you and pairing you up with somebody that does have a vehicle. Now, they have 2 different yards. Their main location, which I'll post a video here a little bit later, is their main office and where you spend week number 3 at. Now, the other yard, which is about 3 miles down the road, is where you spend your first 2 weeks at. So there is a little bit of some traveling that needs to be done. So keep in mind that you're going to need to have transportation, or if you can't, pair up with somebody so that you can get some rides. They do have some dorm-style facilities that are probably about 5 miles down the road. They pair you up with 4 people to a dorm, 2 people per room, 2 rooms. They ran out of space, so they actually put myself up and a few other people in the, where are we at? The Wood Spring Hotel, which is literally right across the street from the main office school. So if you need to have lodging, they do provide it here. It is an additional cost. I believe it's their housing. It's an additional cost, about $450. They do include that in your tuition costs. So if you don't live nearby, there is housing available to you. The second week is basically going to be out in the yard. So second week, you're there from Monday through Thursday, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. You're outside the whole time. You're learning how to back. You're learning how to go over the pre-trip inspection. You learn how to couple and uncouple, hook up the trailers, all that kind of stuff. Now, keep in mind that you are going to be outside, so bring warm clothes, bring closed for rain, snow, whatever, because you are pretty much outside the whole second week. And then the third week, Friday of the second week is when you kind of do another test. You're there from 6 a.m. to about 3:30 p.m. They go over a couple of backing, straight line, 45, 90, and alec docking. So they kind of do a test there, and that is on Friday. So depending on how long it takes, how many people are there in the school or in the class, you should just generally be at about 3:30. Then the third week of your training is going to be out driving around. You're going to be in a vehicle. You're going to go over more pre-trip stuff, inside trip stuff, and spend most of your time with the trainer actually driving around with the truck out on the road. Now, up until recently, all of their trucks were standard, but now it's been a little bit difficult for them to train people how to drive sticks. So when you're doing your backing in week 2, those are going to be a little bit older models. Those are going to be manual transmission trucks. But when you actually take your CDL road test, those are going to be done on automatic trucks. Now, from what I was told, if you don't want to have the restriction on your license for not being able to drive a standard, you are able to come back at a later time. 2 days, they will teach you how to shift, how to drive a manual transmission. But the way companies are going, most of them all are going to have automatic trucks. But if you do want to have your manual transmission on your license without a restriction, they do offer the ability for you to come back, spend an additional 2 days, and they'll teach you how to shift and drive the manual truck. So that's a pretty good deal. I'm not quite sure if they're going to include that in the original tuition price, or if it's going to cost an additional amount for those 2 days to get the extra training on it. But it is something that they are offering. So you got the class schedule. The breaks are pretty frequently. So if you're someone that likes to smoke or, whatever, they do offer breaks, every hour, every couple of hours. So you can go out there and do that. They offer a 30-minute lunch. Again, this is all based on hours. So they don't want to give you too much time. They want to get as much training and everything in you and get this done as quickly as possible. So the lunches are limited to about 30 minutes. If you don't pass your CDL test on the first attempt, they will allow an additional 55 hours of training that is free of charge. So if you don't pass it the first time, they will retrain you for that week. They have a pretty high successful rates of people that are actually passing. So don't get discouraged if you don't. The trainers are really knowledgeable. I know one of the trainers used to be an ice road trucker. He's got 15, 20 years of training experience driving 18-wheelers. I know the 2 other trainers that we had, same kind of things. These guys have all been drivers. They've been doing it for a long time. They're, got 1 million+ miles. So they're going to train you pretty well. So don't worry too much about not passing that part, but you are definitely going to have to do your homework, do the studying and everything to make sure that you pass the actual test, your permit test and your CDL test. Let's see what else is there. There are additional fees when we get back into the cost of the school. Like I said earlier, if you pay for it in full, it's $4,000. It's about $300 in additional fees. That's going to be your application fee, your DOT physical, your drug test. Some of these companies are starting to do hair follicle tests now. So you will have to do a UA and a hair follicle test. If you are not 110% sure that you are going to pass the hair follicle test, I strongly encourage you to test yourself before you get here, because I know companies like Total Transportation, they are doing hair follicle tests. If you fail a DOT, UA, or hair follicle test, that's it. 10 years, you cannot get your CDL, and you're not going to be able to work for any company. So if you, smoked a little wacky tobacco, if you hung out with friends that did it a lot, just be on the safe side. Don't come all the way down here and then fail the drug test. It's just not worth it. 10 years, that's it. You can't get your CDL. There is a $14 permit fee cost. There is a CDL actual licensing fee that's about $70. If you do need to have housing while you're here, that's about another $450. So you're pretty much looking at just about 6,000. Just under $6,000 if you are doing the finance, tuition, the fees, and the housing. But like I said earlier, most of the companies do offer tuition assistance. I know that the particular company I'm going to covers pretty much all of it, but I think just shy of about $600. So once I'm done with school, at 3 months, I believe they are going to take $50 out of my paycheck for a couple of months to finish paying that additional cost that the school or that the tuition didn't cover. Excuse me. So again, so far it's been a great school. Finished up my first week. Looking forward to the second week. You do have weekends off. Today is Saturday, so I'm pretty much hanging out, chilling, going over the pre-trip inspection, just to kind of familiarize myself with everything that's going to be coming next week. Do your homework. Look for a school that's going to be in your best interest, maybe close to home, or what's going to work out for you. I came from Texas. The company that I'm going with, this is one of the schools that they recommended and they work with. So it was better for me to come here. But I went ahead and, like I said, I did my CDL, I got my permits, I did all that stuff before I got here. Another thing, if you are coming from out of state, and you already have your permit, you have to go back to that particular state and get the permit from the DMV if you are taking your test here. So actually, let's just say you came from California, New York. You would go through the first week, get all the training. Then on Friday, you would leave, you would go back to your state and get the DMV permit test there at your DMV for whatever state you're in. And then you would come back here and then proceed with week 2, week 3. Now, as far as I know, every state's like that. You cannot take your CDL permit test if you're from one state and take the test at another state. You actually have to go through and get your permit at that particular state, at that DMV. So keep that in mind. Save yourself airfare, bus ride, whatever. If you are coming from out of state, get your permit before you come here. Because if you don't, you're gonna have to go back home, you're gonna have to take the test there, and then fly, bus, drive back here, and then proceed on with your other 2 weeks of training. I'm gonna post a couple other videos. I'll show the facilities. A couple of friends of mine are actually in the dorms down the road. If I get a chance, I'll go ahead and make some videos about that. But week 1's done. Super excited. I'm looking forward to week 2, and then of course week 3. If you guys have any questions, feel free to send me an email. I'll try to answer them as best I can. So until next video, we'll catch you guys later. Be safe, do your homework, get your permit test, and we'll see you out on the road. Trucker J out.